Private Jessica Morgan wiped sweat from her forehead as she pushed the industrial mop bucket down the gleaming hallway of Fort Bragg's Delta Force compound. The yellow, wet floor signs scattered behind her like breadcrumbs, marking her slow, clumsy progress through the most classified building on base. She'd been working here for 3 months, and every single day brought fresh humiliation. Which city are you watching from? Share it in the comments. Maybe someone else from your city is here too. And if you believe heroes can appear in the most unexpected ways, hit subscribe and give this video a like. Her supervisor, Sergeant First Class Rodriguez, appeared around the corner with his usual disapproving scowl. "Morgan, you missed half the hallway again. Look at those streaks on the floor." He pointed at the freshly mopped surface, which somehow looked worse than before she'd touched it. "My grandmother could clean better than this, and she's been dead for 10 years. The Delta Force operators, walking past, didn't even glance her way. To them, she was furniture. Invisible. Just another incompetent civilian contractor who somehow got hired despite having zero cleaning skills. Master Sergeant Collins had joked last week that watching her mop was like watching someone try to perform surgery with oven mitts. Jessica fumbled with the mop handle, accidentally knocking over a trash bin. The metallic crash echoed through the sterile corridor, causing two operators to turn and shake their heads. One of them, Captain Hayes, stopped mid-conversation with his teammate. "Jesus, Morgan, how do you even get dressed in the morning?" Rodriguez muttered, bending down to help her collect the scattered papers. "I swear if you weren't the only applicant willing to work in a classified facility for minimum wage." What none of them knew was that Jessica's clumsiness wasn't natural. It was calculated. For the past 3 months, she'd been playing the most dangerous role of her career, hiding in plain sight while investigating a massive security breach that threatened national security. Someone inside this compound was selling Delta Force operational details to foreign intelligence services, and her mission was to identify and eliminate the threat. Her real name wasn't Jessica Morgan. It was Major Katherine Chen, Delta Force operator with 6 years of Tier 1 experience and 13 confirmed high-value target eliminations across 4 continents. The bumbling janitor routine was her cover, designed to make her so forgettable that the real criminals would operate freely around her. But maintaining this facade was harder than any combat mission she'd ever undertaken. Every fiber of her being screamed against dropping equipment, leaving floors dirty, and accepting ridicule from soldiers she could outfight and outshoot without breaking a sweat. The hardest part wasn't the physical comedy. It was watching her Delta Force brothers treat her like she was invisible. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Jessica arrived at 5:30 a.m., changed into her janitor uniform in the civilian contractor locker room, and began her rounds. The compound was quieter than usual, with most operators deployed on classified missions. She'd identified 3 potential suspects for the intelligence leak, all of whom had access to operational schedules and mission briefings. Her suspicions centered on Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb, a communications specialist who'd been acting nervously around classified equipment, frequently staying late, and accessing files outside his clearance level. Jessica had been slowly maneuvering her cleaning schedule to observe his activities without raising suspicion. As she wheeled her bucket toward the communications center, the base emergency alert system suddenly erupted. Red lights flashed throughout the hallway as the automated voice announced security breach. All personnel report to designated safe areas. This is not a drill. Jessica froze, her hand instinctively reaching for a sidearm that wasn't there. Through the reinforced windows, she could see black SUVs racing across the compound courtyard. Multiple armed figures in tactical gear were advancing on the main building, moving with the precision that screamed professional military training. But this wasn't a training exercise. These were hostile forces conducting a real assault on American soil. Rodriguez appeared in the hallway, his face pale. "Morgan, get to the basement shelter immediately. We've got armed intruders on the compound." He was already reaching for his radio when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in seconds later, bathing everything in dim red light. Jessica's mind shifted instantly from cover identity to combat mode. She could hear gunfire erupting from multiple directions, the distinctive crack of M4 carbines mixing with the deeper reports of enemy AK variants Through the windows, she watched two Delta Force operators take defensive positions behind concrete barriers, but they were outnumbered and caught off guard. "Rodriguez," she said, her voice suddenly steady and authoritative, "how many operators are currently on base?" He looked at her strangely. "What? Morgan, this isn't your concern. Get to the shelter." Before he could say another word, the main entrance exploded inward in a shower of concrete and steel. Four armed figures in black tactical gear rushed through the breach, their weapons trained and ready. Jessica could see their movements immediately, the way they cleared corners and communicated with hand signals. These weren't random terrorists. This was a coordinated military assault by professional. The lead attacker raised his rifle toward Rodriguez, who was still fumbling with his sidearm. Time slowed to a crawl as Jessica saw the muzzle flash begin to bloom from the enemy weapon. Her body moved without conscious thought. The mop handle snapped in half as she spun it like a bosstaff, the broken end catching the attacker's rifle barrel and deflecting his shot into the ceiling. In the same motion, she stepped inside his guard and drove her elbow into his throat with precisely calculated force. The man dropped like a stone. The second attacker swung his weapon toward her, but Jessica was already moving. She grabbed the fallen enemy's rifle, performed a combat reload in under 2 seconds, and put 3 rounds center mass into the advancing threat. Her movements were fluid, precise, and absolutely lethal. Rodriguez stood frozen, staring at her in complete shock. What the hell? But Jessica was already advancing on the remaining 2 attackers, her weapon tracking smoothly from target to target. These men had military training, but she had something better. She had years of the world's most elite combat experience, and she'd been hiding it behind a mop and bucket for 3 months. The third attacker tried to use Rodriguez as a human shield, but Jessica put a single round through his weapon's upper receiver, destroying his rifle and sending fragments into his hands. As he stumbled backward, she closed the distance and disarmed him with a textbook knife hand strike to his weapon. The fourth man attempted to flee back through the destroyed entrance, but Jessica's shot caught him in the leg, dropping him before he could reach cover. In under 30 seconds, she had neutralized 4 armed professionals without sustaining a scratch. Rodriguez finally found his voice. "Who the hell are you?" Jessica didn't answer immediately. She was scanning for additional threats, her weapon ready and her stance professional. When she was satisfied the immediate area was secure, she reached up and pulled off the hairnet she'd been wearing. Her regulation military haircut fell into place as she turned to face Rodriguez. "Rodriguez, I need you to contact the base commander immediately. Tell him Viper is requesting immediate backup for a hostile force neutralization scenario." Her voice carried the unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to command in life-or-death situations. "Viper?" Rodriguez repeated, confusion evident in his voice. Jessica reached down and tore the sleeve of her janitor uniform, revealing what had been hidden beneath the fabric for 3 months. Tattooed on her right shoulder was the distinctive Delta Force unit crest, surrounded by the words Dio Presso Liber and a series of hash marks indicating successful missions. Rodriguez's eyes went wide as he processed what he was seeing. "Your Delta Force. Major Katherine Chen, 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta. I've been undercover for 3 months, investigating intelligence leaks from this facility." She ejected the magazine from the captured rifle, checked the remaining ammunition, and performed a functions check. "And right now, we've got bigger problems than my cover being blown." Through her earpiece, which had been disguised as a hearing aid for the past 3 months, Jessica could hear radio chatter from the assault team. They were speaking in accented English, coordinating a systematic sweep of the compound. But more importantly, they knew exactly where to find the classified materials they were after. "Rodriguez, how many people knew about today's reduced manning schedule?" she asked, maintaining her watch on the breached entrance. "Just senior staff and communications." "Why?" Jessica's expression darkened. "Because these attackers knew exactly when to hit us. They came prepared for light resistance, and they're moving directly toward specific targets. Someone gave them detailed intelligence about our security posture." Her earpiece crackled with the sound of approaching vehicles. Through the windows, she could see additional enemy reinforcements arriving in unmarked vans. But she could also hear the distant sound of helicopters, likely base security responding to the alert. Rodriguez, I need you to get on the radio and coordinate with base security. Tell them we have professional military assault teams on the compound, and they're operating with inside information. Rodriguez nodded, his training finally overriding his shock. What about you? Jessica checked her watch. According to her intelligence, the primary classified server room was 3 floors up and heavily secured. If the attackers were after specific intelligence, that's where they'd be heading. And if someone on the inside was helping them, they'd have the access codes to get through the security systems. I'm going hunting, she said, moving toward the stairwell. And Rodriguez? Yes, ma'am. If anyone asks about the janitor named Morgan, tell them she had a cleaning emergency. Jessica allowed herself a slight smile before disappearing into the stairwell, moving with the silent precision of America's most elite warriors. 3 floors up, Staff Sergeant Webb was typing frantically at a computer terminal, downloading classified operational files onto a portable drive. He disabled the security cameras and bypassed the access logs, confident that his months of careful preparation had covered every angle. What he hadn't prepared for was the sound of footsteps approaching from the stairwell, professional, measured, and absolutely silent until they wanted to be heard. Working late tonight, Webb? Jessica's voice came from the doorway, calm and conversational. Webb spun around, his hand reaching for his sidearm. He stopped when he found himself looking down the barrel of an M4 carbine held by someone who clearly knew how to use it. Morgan, what the hell are you doing here, and how did you get that weapon? Jessica stepped into the room, her rifle trained on his center mass. That's Major Chen to you, Staff Sergeant. And I got this weapon from one of your friends downstairs right after I put him in the ground. Webb's face went pale as he processed what he was hearing. You're military, Delta Force, and I've been watching you for 3 months, documenting every time you accessed files above your clearance level, every late night you spent in here, and every communication you had with your foreign handlers. Webb's hand moved slightly toward his weapon, but Jessica's rifle never wavered. I wouldn't recommend it. I've got 13 confirmed kills in actual combat operations, and you're just a communications specialist who sold out his country for money. You can't prove anything, Webb said, but his voice lacked conviction. Jessica nodded toward the computer screen, which still displayed classified operational details. The portable drive in your hand, the downloaded files, and the fact that your assault team knew exactly when and where to attack. I'd say that's plenty of proof. Through the windows, the sound of gunfire was decreasing as base security established control over the compound, but Jessica knew the most important part of her mission was standing right in front of her. Webb, you're going to slowly reach for your sidearm with 2 fingers, remove it from your holster and place it on the ground. Then you're going to step away from that computer and assume the position. And if I refuse? Jessica's expression didn't change, but her voice carried the unmistakable tone of someone who had killed before and would do so again without hesitation. Then I'll add a 14th confirmed kill to my record, and Internal Affairs will have to scrape your remains off this floor. Webb complied, moving slowly and carefully. As he placed his weapon on the ground and stepped away from the computer, Jessica moved forward and secured both the sidearm and the portable drive containing the stolen intelligence. Major Chen, came a voice from behind her. She turned to see Colonel Harrison, the base commander, standing in the doorway with 2 security personnel. Rodriguez briefed me on the situation. Are you injured? No, sir, but we've got our intelligence leak. She nodded toward Webb, who was now secured against the wall. Staff Sergeant Webb has been providing operational intelligence to foreign agents. The assault team was coordinated to extract him and the classified materials he'd stolen. Colonel Harrison looked from Jessica to Webb, then back to Jessica. Major, I think you and I need to have a very long conversation about why a Delta Force operator has been working as a janitor in my facility for 3 months. Jessica allowed herself a small smile. Sir, with respect, that conversation will need to happen above your clearance level. But I can tell you that Webb won't be the only arrest we make today. 6 hours later, Jessica sat in the base commander's office, no longer wearing a janitor's uniform. Her Delta Force dress uniform bore the ribbons and decorations of someone who had served her country with distinction in the world's most dangerous places. Across from her, Colonel Harrison reviewed the classified file that explained her presence at Fort Bragg. Major, Operation Silent Sweep was authorized at the highest levels of command. Your undercover work has exposed not just Webb, but an entire network of compromised personnel selling intelligence to foreign services. Jessica nodded. Sir, the hardest part wasn't maintaining my cover identity, it was watching my fellow operators treat me like I was invisible while I documented evidence against American soldiers who betrayed their oath. And now? Now we roll up the entire network. Webb was just the beginning. His communications led us to 6 other personnel across 3 different bases, all selling classified information to the same foreign intelligence service. Colonel Harrison closed the file. Major, I've never seen anything like what you did today. Neutralizing 4 armed hostiles while maintaining your cover, then exposing and capturing the primary target of a 3-month investigation. Jessica stewed, adjusting her uniform. Sir, that's what Delta Force operators do. We adapt, we survive, and we complete the mission, whether we're carrying rifles or mop buckets. As she left the office, Jessica passed the maintenance closet where she'd stored her cleaning supplies for 3 months. Rodriguez was there, organizing equipment with a new appreciation for the woman who had saved his life. Major, he said, standing at attention, I wanted to apologize for every joke I made about your cleaning skills. Jessica paused, a slight smile crossing her face. Rodriguez, my cleaning skills really are terrible, but my shooting skills make up for it. Outside the compound, the sun was setting over Fort Bragg. The emergency was over, the threats neutralized, and national security preserved. But for Jessica, this was just another day at the office. Tomorrow, there would be another mission, another cover identity, and another chance to protect the country she'd sworn to defend. The only difference was that next time she hoped her cover story didn't involve mopping floors. As she walked toward the classified briefing facility for her next assignment, Jessica reflected on the last 3 months. Being underestimated had been the greatest weapon in her arsenal. While everyone was watching the obvious threats, she'd been hiding in plain sight, documenting evidence and preparing for the moment when her true identity would be revealed. That moment had come sooner than expected, but the mission was complete. Webb was in custody, his network was being rolled up, and the intelligence leak that had threatened American operations worldwide was finally plugged. For Major Katherine Chen, it was just another successful day of being the hero no one saw coming.